Oh, good. We're on. Excellent. Okay. We're streaming and everything. Fantastic. And
On time.
on time. No, 10 minutes late. That's rock and roll on time. We're not yes on time. Yes being
Are we AC/DC on time?
more than that. Yes, that's for Spinal Tap, I believe, got the thing where they were like the most punctual band. Yes, in my experience, has been the most punctual band I've ever experienced. Also, and I have a better handle on time because I finally now have. I have one of those old OG Walter White calculator watch. I just found mine. I had this right since I've been in like ninth grade or something. It showed up. Anyway, we're going to be showing off a number of great incenses today. Oh, let me tell you where we're from. This is Woodstock Trading Company. Address is 1880 Route 70 East. And we're in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Zip is 08003. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, like us on Facebook. We always put all sorts of information up there about upcoming events. We got the Maypole this weekend, right?
No.
Next weekend.
Happy Mother's Day this weekend.
Next Sunday is the Maypole.
Saturday.
Next Saturday. I'm a mess. Go to Facebook. Don't listen to me. And we have a band. The Jug Band's going to be playing, right?
Jug
Band.
Playing.
So, give them our love, whatever. They're great guys. And you can call us for more information. Also, 856-424-6166. Our hours Monday through Friday is 11 to 7. Saturday is noon to 7. Sunday noon to 5. So come on in. We're a for real store, not just online. In fact, we're more real than online, I would say. Our online presence. We're working on it. So what we're going to do today, we're going to be showing off a bunch of incenses. It's not going to be in numerical order this time. I've noticed in the past that when I have things in numerical order, sometimes a stronger fragrance is followed by a lighter one, and it can cause problems, just like if you're wine tasting. You really don't want to follow up, a big Pinot Noir or Cabernet or whatever with a light Chablis. It just kind of kills you. Beer tasting, which I've done, you don't want to follow barley wine with like a light, wheat beer or something. It just gets lost. So we're going to be showing the same items, just not quite in the same order. So we're going to begin. I just wanted to show off very briefly. These aren't super strong, so it's okay. It's not going to kill us. Two of our relatively new items. I'm showing these off. I've shown them before. I don't mind showing them again. Mostly, I love showing these off because just the availability of these next two items really waxes and wanes. I got lucky with this one. This last order. This one is called Stardust. You have the number? I don't even remember the number. It was 87. We'll find out the number. And 87. Oh, wow, excellent. So the first time I'd ordered this, we ordered about a half a kilo, sight unseen. Never used it before, not knowing that the next time I was going to order it, that I was going to fail miserably in getting any, because apparently it's just not manufactured in great quantity. So that half kilo, just flew, and I have to admit we used our share of it. We absolutely fell in love with it. It's really, really amazing. Beautiful, deep, lightly sweet fragrance. Alice wood, ginkgo, whatever you want to call it. Has it's very warm, a little bit of a hint of something like cigar leaf, wrapper leaf. Very deep, very warm. Ambers, sweet, beautiful fragrance. Sandalwood is a fairly noticeable constituent, as is some frankincense as well, which kind of brightens it up, so it's not too heavy or too dark. Moderately dark fragrance, but it's not bitter or sharp or anything. It's very round, very even, warm, sweet, complicated, very sophisticated. When you start to really study it, which, by the way, one of the beauties of this fragrance, it's one of the fragrances you can passively enjoy just as much as delve deep into its fragrances and really study what its components are. Again, it's very similar to wine tasting, right? Where you're given a liquid that contains dozens, maybe hundreds of different flavor components. And your job is to isolate individual ones and be able to subjectively describe the components. So you'll hear all this fancy wine talk like, like cassis, blackcurrant, whatever you want to call it, blackcurrant and plum or prunes or whatever. I mean, you'll never hear a wine taster say, this tastes like wine, It always sounds so snooty, but what they're doing is they're breaking down each of the flavor components and giving you its profile. Like they'll describe something mineral-like, which is what made me think. It's also, when you really delve deep into its profile, you're going to catch a slight earthy mineral note to it. The next one I'm going to show you that's even more pronounced. So this one's a relatively warm, moderately sweet, very complicated. A little bit of caramel, bit of vanilla. Frankincense is noticeable, which I'll pick up, or you may pick up, as something a little bit lemony, or some people describe a bergamot-like quality, which for people that might not know, it's like Earl Grey tea. So there's some of that buried.
To me, I describe it as kind of delicious. Taste. You could taste the fragrance because it's just really a light taste, like almost a dessert kind of a thing.
There's a sort of vanilla tiramisu kind of custard-like.
It's really delicious.
Quality about it. It's a little bit of, I'm just now noticing when you mention that, a little bit of anise. It might remind some people of an Italian bakery.
Oh, it's just delicious. I love this fragrance.
Italian bakeries are very distinctive. They don't smell like any other kind of bakery because they don't just have vanilla. They don't have chocolate. It's always tinkered with a little bit of anise. I'm now picking up anise, fennel in this. I never noticed it before, which is definitely contributing to the sweetness. I'm not smelling any of the other spices like cinnamon or clove or any of those kind of things, or nutmeg. I'm not really getting any of them. But I'm getting some vanilla-like. It's probably amber is most likely, something like an amber, like a nice even amber. A mineral background, which I think is very cleansing. This is not cloying. I think without it, it might be a little bit too sweet. Slightly warm, slightly green, slightly brown kind of smell to it. Tiramisu, vanilla, custard, with a sophistication of a little hint of either pipe tobacco, something like a pipe tobacco or cigar leaf.
Yeah, which makes it not so feminine. It's really gender free of any particular leaning.
So that one's Stardust. I received another 2 kilos just yesterday or the day before. I ordered 4, assuming I was going to get only 1. I got lucky. I got 2. We always hold our breath because sometimes when we order 4 kilos of this and 5 kilos of that, sometimes we actually get them, and we're not always prepared for it. But I expected to get maybe 1 kilo, maybe 1.5, and we got lucky. We got 2 full kilos of it. Half of it already gone. I'm already in the process of ordering another 3 or 4 with the hope I get about half of that again.
We have asked people, particularly for this fragrance, if they wanted, if they've used it, or if they wanted to just get in touch with us, and we have formed a list for Stardust, and it's really, we ship it as soon as we get it in, or people have come into the store, so we can make arrangements for it. It might not even be on the
website. It should be.
I'm not sure.
But don't hesitate. It's one of we're not good salespeople, so we're not aggressive about limited edition buy now, but in this case, just because of availability being in doubt. We just kind of encourage it. Plus, once you've had it, you know, it's an easy fragrance to fall in love with. That was Stardust. That was one. Yeah, I know. You guys, do we send you? We send any home with you guys? Okay, good. Just making. Between ourselves and our employees, which amount to 2, soon 3 actually. We're gonna have a new Sunday fellow. We probably used about half of what we purchased the first time, and it's left us with very little. But that's okay. It's okay. A sister to it, and actually, I probably should have shown this in reverse order, but that's all right. The Forest Deep. Yeah. I should have shown them the other way around. This is a much lighter fragrance. Definitely not as sweet a fragrance. It's not super dry. It's not bone dry like hay or something. It definitely is a very light, sweet quality to it. There's very, very earthy green fragrance, and it's slightly sweet. But after having had the Stardust first, it seems much drier still, right? Earthy, green, mossy. I would have to describe it as mossy. It's not musty. There are some incenses that are. I might have shown one last week or the week before, one called Hina, which is very, very musty for people that like tea from the Yunnan province called Pu'er, also called Poli. It's sort of like the way it smells, very earthy, almost basementy. We're changing the subject. The way I would describe
Hina is incense number 264.
Okay, it's $1.50. Okay.
It's really reasonable. Yes, yeah. It's $1.50 a pack, and it's
bizarre.
It's a different.
I'm going to describe it as bizarre, but anyway, the easiest way to describe this, granted it's subjective, and I try to avoid that as much as possible. If anybody's ever heard Pink Floyd's Grantchester Meadows, it's on Amagama, and I know they played it live a few times. That's the studio version. It really sums up this fragrance beautifully. I wish I had that playing in the background. I should have done that. But then it goes right into several species of small furry animals, and that would just be really disruptive. But it's sort of cool, a little damp, green, mossy, rivery smelling, fresh river. It's not like a stinky old creek, you know. Yeah, it's forest deep, and it's, you know, it's kind of lightly leafy. Also has a little bit of that tobacco leaf, that sort of cigar wrapper leaf quality to it. Also a little bit of that pipe tobacco, but it's very dry. It's not like a Cavendish. It's more like one of those non-aromatic Virginia blends. Doesn't have a lot of key, unfortunately. That stuff is strong. These are relatively new for us. This one here, Forest Deep. What was the number? Oh no. This is the 2 I didn't write down the numbers for. The rest of them I was very...
What number?
26. Excellent. Okay. This one is not as difficult to procure as Stardust, but still I wouldn't say either of them are easy to get. They're from the same people, I suspect. I get it from the same dealer. I suspect they're from the same manufacturer. It's very unusual. It's unlike any other incense you've ever had. Oh, there's also a hint of part of that sort of cool green is something. There's a type of saffron used for making incenses. It's not the same saffron that you would make paya with, I don't think, because then it would cost a fortune. It's an Indian saffron. They call it kesari. Sometimes used even in foods that you wouldn't even expect, like ice creams. You ever have saffron ice cream? It's very unusual. Very, very different. So I just wanted to show those off just because they're really amazing and they're a little hard to get. And unfortunately, we can't shove the fragrance through the modem. That would be... We've always discussed that the smell-o-vision is a double-edged sword. You know, you have to be extra careful what websites you go to. Should they invent these smelly modem with, I don't know, the nose.
People still get samples.
Yeah, if you know, certainly I mean, I don't have any made, but I'll make them of either of these. I reserve the right to complain and be reluctant to do so, just because our supply isn't great. I will do it, but I do reserve the right to complain. I always do. It's very
All they have to do is send us a stamped, self-addressed envelope, mail it to Woodstock Trading Company, 1880 Route 70, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 08003, and either write for Stardust or Forest Deep, and Dr. Seth will send you a sample, although he will complain, and we'll get it out to you ASAP.
Now, if you'll notice, all of that, I did not move my lips once. It's good. I know, right? Not only does voices, but...
I know if you do burn the two of them together, it comes out with that marzipan.
You know, I never did try that.
amazing.
Really, I never did try that. Oh, good. We got a first. Oh, beautiful. I'm glad you said that.
I really like marzipan.
I think that's like my new favorite combo.
Interesting. Yeah, we do have some fragrances that do have that almond quality, but let me see. Oh, no, I see what you're saying. Wow, very unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sort of a weird synergy going on. You know, that's so weird because Forest Deep is very, very similar to a dupe incense I used to buy years and years ago. Little Indian store. It's on Chestnut Street in Philadelphia. And I used to burn it with other things. And I very rarely blend incenses. Very, very rare. And I used to use it. They had a rose incense there that was so insanely powerful. These little thin black sticks. And if you light one of them, it's, you know, it's like dropping a huge flower bomb. I mean, if you just burned it by itself, you would get sick probably from it. But when I combined it with that other dupe, it worked beautifully, and then I started combining. So that's weird that you would combine that. It starts to get close almost to White Wing in some ways. Which, if you like Stardust, you'll like White Wing. If you like White Wing, you'll like Stardust. That's the logic. No, but I see what you're saying. Remember we mentioned a cherry? You know, if you've ever cooked with cherries and you made cherry jams or pies or whatever, well, you don't want to make cherry pie and leave the pits in the cherries. But if you're going to cook the cherries, it's good to leave the pits in. Just remove them later because the pits provide a flavor. People make cherry liqueurs and stuff. They leave the pits in the mash. It gives it an almond-like quality. If you ever had cherry pie taste like almond, not a surprise because they're related. Like apricots, peaches. If you ever opened up one of those, the stone of a peach, there's a little thing in it, looks like an almond. They're related. And in fact, those little amaretti cookies, those little foam, whatever they're, meringue, those little things. It's not almond. It's apricot kernel. That's where it gets its flavor. So yeah, I'm picking up almost that cherry. Like
Cherry, almond, vanilla.
Apricot, amardine. Does anybody use amardine? Interesting, the word amardine, almond, and yet it refers to apricot. That's the original fruit roll-up. That's I think it's Lebanese.
Mm.
It's like Lebanese fruit roll-ups made from apricots and I don't know if it's honey or sugar or something. A little bit of olive oil in there, believe it or not. In fact, you could smell it. It's very interesting. So I'm getting an amardine apricot fruit roll-up kind of dried apricot quality about it. It's very unusual, unexpected. I thought it was going to be sweeter than it is. The Forest Deep.
Really tones.
Yeah, I thought that I expected the Stardust to dominate more. I would almost consider maybe. Oh, I know the time. Maybe a 2-to-1. Maybe 2 Stardust to 1, and see what it would do. Just that's the scientist in me, right? That's the perfumer in me. That's how perfumes get made. It's about titration of fragrances. So it's like 10-to-1, and then you try an 8-to-2, and then a 7-to-3, until you find the right. And sometimes you even have to go in between, you know, like 1.1, 1.2. So anyway, we're going to move on. Ordinarily, I would have shown the next one would be number 42, which is Nandi Flora. But these are really an assault to your nose, and you wouldn't really be able to smell anything after that. So we're going to take it out of order, and we're going to go to number 43. Actually, 43, That's healing. It's a Tibetan incense, which is where I wanted to begin. Tibetan incenses present a challenge.
What is the name?
Healing, Tibetan, or Tibetan healing. Simply, this is healing. Number 43. It's an old list. It might not be on that list. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Tibetan incenses present a distinctive challenge in one way, and they make things easier in another. They make things a challenge because they're all fairly similar, and being able to objectively describe each one as compared to the other is very, very difficult. Because when I start to describe them, they all sound the same. The core of all of these Tibetan incenses is cedar. Deodar cedar, the Himalayan cedar. That's the only place it grows, in the Himalayas. Then from there, things change, variations on certain degrees of certain spices, like cinnamon, clove, saffron, or something akin to saffron. Some of them contain sunflowers, like jasmine or rose, or whatever, but that's kind of unusual. And various resins of unknown type. They all have that cedary smell, which I have to describe to, if you've never smelled Tibetan incenses or cedarwood incenses, it's quite smoky. It will be reminiscent, it's a greenish smell, it might be reminiscent of the smell of baking apples. And I think the spices in these incenses tends to enhance that baked apple quality. Cinnamon and or clove is not an unusual ingredient in these Tibetan incenses. It's pretty much in all of them. Some of them have more than others. This particular one is a little bit darker than most of the Tibetan incenses in smell. Not in color, but in smell. It's not nearly as sweet. None of them are sweet, but it's not nearly as aromatic or bright as some of the other. It's a bit darker. It's sort of leathery. Oh, I'll pass it around, right? Here we go. It's sort of leathery in smell. Have you ever smelled that? It's quite resinous, a fragrance. It's very organic, earthy, loamy smell. There's an unfortunate term, but sometimes true. People describe a dungy smell. I know, but that's not really the case here. There are some Tibetan incenses that have a dungy smell to them, but not like really. It's not like poo. It's just kind of dungy. If you've ever gone to if you've ever been around horses, they sort of have a certain musk.
It's not unpleasant.
No, it's not unpleasant. But it's not like Champa or any of those other incenses. It's completely different. Much more primitive. You might pick up a little bit of a slightly fatty or waxy smell that some of these have. This one does. And I don't know if it's teakwood that might be in here. Because teakwood has a certain smell to it that is sort of fatty, waxy. If you ever used beeswax candles, and when you put them out, they have a very interesting, fatty, waxy smell. It's not like paraffin. That's a totally different smell. If you ever burn pure beeswax candles, when you put them out, they have that kind of like a burning fat-like smell. There's a little bit of that. It's really not unpleasant. It's sort of almost like barbecue-y, I guess. Right?
It's
or
like
grilling.
I can smell the heat.
Yeah.
Like it smells like an old kitchen.
Okay, I get that.
The sort of like old hearthwood kind of.
The wood burning kitchen. So that's healing, and I'm going to show at least one other Tibetan, just to kind of show you the similarities and differences between one and the other. And again, chances are if you like one, you'll like them all, but they do vary. This is Tantric Ritual, number 147. This is still one of our favorites. Having real difficulty finding Tibetan incenses.
What is the name?
Tantric Ritual. T-A-N, Trick, T-R-I-C. This one's even darker still. It's a little bit sharper. And I did mention that sort of dungy smell, I guess. It's noticeable in this, but again, it's really not what I would call unpleasant. It's not stably. It doesn't smell like a stable. Here, see what you think. It's a little bit darker. Also has a bit of a tobacco-y quality. It's not as resinous as
It
healing.
does have a much sharper.
It's sharper, a bit more aggressive. It's not as sweet. Not that any of them are sweet, but it's sharper still. It's a darker smell.
It's spicier.
Like, I believe there's some black cardamom in this.
Not technical at all, but it almost has that like taco seasoning kind of like.
Okay, I'm glad you said
like
that.
A peppery kind of.
One of the more common ingredients, if it isn't in these, there's something identical to it. Cumin. I believe there is some cumin in some of these Tibetan incenses, which you'll perceive as a curry-like or taco-like, Mexican smell. There are people that dislike cumin because they describe it as sort of smell like body odor, like BO.
It's on that line.
Okay? It's a musky smell, right? It's a very, very musky smell. But you can see how similar it is to the other, but it's just as different as it is similar.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I found a little nub of something in there that I really like too. I get distracted, don't. I'll show one more Tibetan just to give you an idea, and then we're going to show one Indian incense that, if you like Tibetans, there are a few Indian incenses that you would like, because they're not all over-the-top sweet, powerful, perfumey fragrances. There are some. This one here is Tibetan Peace. I wrote the number down. Number 1, no, not 188. Tibetan Peace 262. Number 262. Okay. There are a few Tibetan incenses I wish I could get again. If there are any Tibetan incense dealers out there, call me. 856-424-6166. And if I'm not here, leave a message, talk to whoever's here. I'm really looking for Tibetan incense guys. This one's much, much lighter, much brighter. This one you'll notice more sandalwoods. This one a bit more conventional. In fact, even look at the packaging, like you can sort of tell it's more Western looking. There's no Sanskrit on the package, so it's a bit more familiar to the Western nose and eye. Some of these have no English whatsoever. I've had some Tibetan incenses, or very, very little.
Tibetan Peace is never in this.
Yeah, I know, it's relatively new. Here, see what you think. So this one is considerably brighter, more of the sandalwood, clove, resin, or gugal resin. So it's a bit more familiar. It's a brighter fragrance. It has that baked apple. By the way, if you burn cumin seeds, you actually roast them or burn them, they give off an apple roasting smell, which is really unexpected.
It is a little bit. It's definitely sweeter than the other one.
This is a bit more Western nose friendly, for lack of a better way of describing it.
It'd be a good way to step into the other ones.
Right. One of the great things about Tibetan incenses, besides if you like one, you tend to like them all, is they're good for meal times. You can burn these for meal times. You don't want to have a stick of jasmine or rose or anything like that burning during meal times. These are scented with, for the most part, either culinary herbs like cumin and clove, things like that. They're not alien. They work well, particularly if you're serving like curries or things like that. But
they're very earthy and
right?
homey.
Yeah. Grilled vegetables. If you have this light with grilled vegetables, like we're doing grilled eggplant tonight, and looking forward to that. Olive oil, garlic, this Korean sea salt they use to make kimchi. We love that stuff. Slice it lengthwise, throw it on the grill, man, let it blacken up a little. Dynamite. But I digress. Just to show that there are some Indian incenses. If you're strictly a Tibetan incense user, and because you found yourself just not liking Indian incenses because they're too strong. Actually, I pulled the wrong bundle. But that's okay. We'll show this one off anyway. I was going to show Red Rose Sandalwood. The number of which, of course, I did write down because this was impulse. We'll just pretend this is Red Rose. Actually, I can't do that. We actually have an audience this time. No. So we won't do that.
We don't have that on the list.
No, it's very, very new. We'll call out. We'll get the number to you, Red Rose It also has a teak wood, slightly fatty, earthy smell. Despite its name, it's still sandalwood. The rose component to it is not very, very, very pronounced. Like a rose petal-like quality that some Tibetan incenses have. The mandala line was mandala
Is this
Tibetan incense.
Indian?
Yeah, mandala Tibetan incenses. They had one that had a rose, a Himalayan rose in it. That was really amazing and unique. I've never had a Tibetan incense line like it. Can't get them. I can't get them. It's unfortunate. Nature's Intimate Embrace had this bright camphorous kind of lime oil and camphor kind of thing. They were really something. Part of the business is heartbreak, like any other business. And we've learned not to fall too much in love with any one fragrance, because either it'll get discontinued, or no one will import it anymore, or they'll change the recipe. I can't get Green Goddess. That had a really interesting earth, like smoky, bright, and had a background to it akin to if you ever had like a medium dry, like Alsatian Gewürztraminer wine. Had a little bit of that weird, earthy kind of quality with a little bit of that bright, fruity, lychee, rose petal quality to it. Yeah, Green Goddess, can't get it anymore. No sense describing something you can't get. So we're going to move, let's see, the next one we're going to show is Chomp of Gold. This is number 46. This one can take people by surprise, people that are so used to Champa incenses, and they figure, well, here's a Champa I haven't tried before, and sort of not blindly grab it, but certainly have a certain expectation, and they rarely dislike it, but it startles them. It's sort of like if somebody puts root beer in a Coke bottle and you take a swig of it, it's, even if you like root beer, it's really shocking, right? We had a friend visiting from England, and we had birch beer in these Coke bottles. Birch beer for the rest of the country. It's a local kind of Philly area, Pennsylvania Dutch thing, and it tastes from wintergreen. And he'd never tasted before in his life, and he was like appalled. He was, how can you drink this? It's like it's. Speaking of wintergreen, part of the profile of Chomp of Gold is a wintergreen-like quality. It's not a sweet fragrance. It's relatively bittersweet, probably more bitter than sweet. I'm glad they make the sticks thin. It's a moderately, it's not a strong, sweet, heavy fragrance, but it's relatively aggressive. I think that's the bitterness in it. You'll also smell something in there that will remind you of heat. I have a few incenses that do this, that have a smell to it of heat. It's a bit friendlier than some of them. Shivranjani is one that is very aggressive. It smells
Excuse
of
me,
heat.
Dr. Glass, we just got a phone call from Detroit.
Oh.
And they are asking, they're leaving now because they have a meeting.
The Red Wings playing? No.
They have a meeting, and they're not going to see the end of your lecture. So they know that you're streaming, and they'll follow it. But they want to mark their calendar when your next...
Oh, wow. I don't know. You have that information?
Your next Incense Lecture is going to be in June on the 12th.
12th of June. We just found out.
Yeah, you booked it 12th of June, and it will be streaming as well, so you're all set.
So this one, fairly bittersweet, lightly aggressive. You'll smell something in there. Chemists will say, we'll use the term methyl salicylate, which is fancy talk, for wintergreen. Slightly camphorous, and the smell of heat. Ozone, right? The smell of ozone. Like rain after a very hot day, you'll catch a whiff of ozone, or a bitter cold winter day. Speaking of Detroit, you'll catch a whiff of ozone. Let me show you to see what your thoughts are. Some amber. It's not altogether completely bitter. There is something that balances it out. You learn to really like it. The first few hits of it, it's a bit startling. Once you kind of break it down into its constituent parts, think of heat, warmth. Like the first time you turn your heat on in the fall, sometimes there's that peculiar smell, and I don't know what it is exactly. Probably just dust burning for all we know. And you'll catch a whiff of this. Yeah, so we're going to show you some things that if you like Chomp of Gold, number 46, some other things that you probably also would appreciate.
We had a question come in from our YouTube channel.
Oh, excellent. Wow, cool.
From Joe G. And he was asking if any incenses that are bitter have any benefits, as well as any ones that are sweet. Are there any?
Well, certainly. I mean, in terms of your environment is concerned, bitter fragrances I would recommend for deodorizing, cleansing the air. If you put a sweet fragrance, or, well, some of the sweet ones are okay, but if you put a floral in the room where you have your cat box, you're not going to like it. It's going to be miserable. You're going to create some odd, mutant, funky smell that it's going to be like roses and cat poo. Well, that's my favorite band, Roses and Cat Poo.
What about fragrances for, like, in the laundry room where you let
Yeah, I see. I would go with, again, relatively bitter, like something like Chomp of Gold. A certain camphorous note about it, very cleansing. It's like if you ever had bitter greens, they sort of clean your palate. Also, some of the more bitter fragrances are beneficial for those practitioners in meditation, because they're very cleansing, they're not cloying, they're not going to distract you, unless they're just super aggressive. Some fragrances are very, very aggressive, and they can distract you. They have a tendency to aid people also that practice meditation. Some of them only use Kasari incenses, which are the saffron incenses. In fact, what I have to get some opinions on Forest Deep. Yeah.
I just got a phone call because of your last statement, asking if perhaps you could put a whole seminar together on incenses good for meditation.
Yeah, I can do that.
Perhaps we can slate that for the June.
I wouldn't be prepared for that by June, but maybe a July thing.
Okay.
Especially in the people who do meditate have trouble more in the summer because of the heat.
Okay.
So people who like Chomp of Gold, here's an example of an item that they might also like. This is Supreme Champa. Okay, I wrote the number down. Chomp of Gold, Supreme Champa, that's number 73. This one also took me by surprise because I also had a notion what Champa incenses were like, and I always thought they were all kind of sweet, spicy. Ooh, I got a little end on that. And I encountered this, and this is, again, very bitter, slightly sweet, but more bitter than sweet. Definitely not like a bright aromatic fragrance. This is relatively dark, moderately aggressive, very foreign to our noses, but it doesn't take long to find its way into your home. This is actually really good for the cat box room or whatever, or the musty basements or whatever, because it's not floral, it's not sweet. It's lightly sweet, I guess, but it's more bitter than sweet. Very unexpected fragrance. Some people describe it as also like old soaps, like ivory soap or whatever. There's like, I don't know which soap it is, but some people call it soapy smell. But I would tend to think more clean or cleansing than soapy. I always associate soapy things as a negative term. I have that issue with cilantro, right? I'm a non-cilantro person. Forgive me for those who love this stuff. It's not by choice. It's like any other lifestyle thing. It's not by choice. I didn't choose to dislike cilantro.
It's genetic.
It's genetic, probably, to some extent cultural. But I met a fellow though who was Southeast Asian who disliked cilantro, and he had to keep it a deep, dark secret.
Was that someone who also liked McDonald's?
No, different person.
Okay.
I don't know his thoughts on cilantro. We're going to show one last one on this because we definitely don't want to dwell too long. I'm going to show you a true Champa that is more like what people are expecting, but is not as sweet as Nag Champa. So people that like Chomp of Gold and Supreme Champa but they're looking for something closer to the blue box Nag Champa, or at least what the blue box Nag Champa used to be like. Then Sairanjani Champa, I'll give you the number to that. You talk about difficult to procure. This is number 233. And I was just floored when I had this because it's very, very close to the original blue box Nag Champa that it used to be in the 80s and 90s. But it's much,
What number is it?
I think 233. Much, much earthier. If you like that earthy, mossy thing, actually, this I'd like to combine this maybe again. You got me into mixing now with not so much the Forest Deep, but maybe the Stardust.
Yeah.
Earthy, mossy, but it's a Champa, and if you like Champas, you like this.
Saranjani as number 39.
Not Shiv Ranjani. Shiv Ranjani, if you like, by the way, I was going to show Shiv Ranjani, and if you like Chomp of Gold, and definitely if you like Supreme Champa, you would like Shiv Ranjani.
Which one is this?
Sairanjani Champa.
Is that on our list?
S-A-I-R-A-N, Johnny, J-A-N-I. Yeah, this is a great one. It has something also very, very... It's hard to describe. This is going to sound weird, but if you've ever been in a room that has an indoor swimming pool, okay, there's a certain musty kind of, and a little bit of that sort of chlorine. I can't describe it any other way, but it has a little bit here. Also, I'm picking up just now. I never noticed it before, but a little bit of the smell of like artificial coconut, right? Like a coconut air freshener, like a synthetic coconut kind of smell. I never noticed it before. I don't think they actually put synthetics in this. I think but it does contain halmadi, which is the key ingredient if you want a true Champa incense. It must contain halmadi. Otherwise, it's not a true Champa. You can call it Champa, like green Champa. It's totally different fragrance, but it's not a Champa. It is by name. So, how's that combined? And what do you think? That's the Stardust and Sairanjani? Yeah. Okay? Yeah. I can't tell by looking, you know. That's a poker face. Puff, puff, poker face.
She's hooked on that.
Oh, we never did test. We had squirrels. We played Madonna. Poor thing committed suicide. I said don't play the entire Immaculate Collection. And that squirrel, we found a squirrel. He committed suicide. I'm very sorry about that. I feel that we're part of it. But we never did test. Squirrels hate Madonna. It's a long story. Check our, did I mention our previous incense discussion? Squirrels hate Madonna. I'm neutral, but I know squirrels. So the poor thing has just ended it. But we never did find out squirrels' opinion of Lady Gaga yet. I don't know where they stand on it.
Did die.
Now I'm picking up more of that fennel anise quality more so when these combine. But yeah, that's right. I never noticed it before. But yeah, a little bit of that weird sort of indoor swimming pool, summertime, chlorine, musty, earthy, but not unpleasant.
Yeah,
5 minutes? Oh, duty. All right, what am I going to show off in 5 minutes? I wish I had just one item that's just a complete anomaly. Cause I don't want to begin the next one. Since we're still talking about the Chomp of Gold, well, we can stay in that vein, I guess. Or want to just show something really intense and powerful, or like a preview to the next week.
Do that.
This is 43. This is where it was supposed to begin.
Okay.
We'll just show this one. I've been carrying this stuff for, well, now decades.
What's the name?
This is Nandi Flora.
I love it.
Everybody, all the incense dealers love to make fun of their packaging. And their packaging has never changed. And it's, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of hokey. It's very 60s looking.
Very 60s.
And they've never changed their packaging. And all the incense guys are like, oh, it's the worst packaging. It's really ugly. And na. I'm like, come on. Who cares?
I just got a phone call from one of your old customers.
How old is it?
Very old. Well, we've been here for 25 years, and some of these fragrances have been there.
It's flown
But
by like 50, though.
You wrote on our incense list,
Yeah.
which is a work in progress
Yeah.
for 25 years and not complete. Wow, where to begin? This goes back
Where to
almost 25 years on this fragrance.
It's an intense fragrance.
Yeah, he just quoted. Huge, complex blend of resins, sandalwood, floral oils, big and rich.
There's a lot of spice going on. Cardamom, coriander seed, sandalwood. I know.
Wow, he said.
It's relatively hot fragrance also. It has some of the qualities that you got from Chomp of Gold and Supreme Champa. There's a lot of that same core qualities to them, relatively bittersweet. This one's more heavily spiced, much more aromatic fragrance. This is one of the first strong incenses that I liked. I tended to like lighter things. This was one of the first really, really powerful ones. And I guess the way it's formulated is it's kind of like you can take a heavy weight. When you put it in front of you, you can't carry it. But if you throw it on your back, you can carry it. It's more distributed. Your legs are bearing the weight. This fragrance is very similar that way. Although it's very, very strong, each of its components add up to a huge fragrance. But there isn't any one in particular that is just overpowering, which is the mark of a really good flora incense, really. You'll see the word flora or flexo or whatever, which was Bender's evil friend, I think, flexo. But I digress. Anyway, this one is extraordinarily powerful. We have laughter, I know. We could try.
I love this.
If you want to really knock out a room that's like a smelly room, this will knock out a severely smelly room.
Well, we had 10 cats at one time,
10
and
cats.
it's done its
That's
job.
a smelly house. That's not a smelly room. Oh, you know what? Also, off subject, but we mentioned smelly rooms and deodorizing. Fred Saul incenses are theoretically on their way, and so if you like frankincense and all that, but you don't want to mess with charcoals, you want to really just church up a room. Fred Saul incenses are the way to go. His frankincense and myrrh, unbeatable. The only way you can is to light up charcoals, and you better find yourself a really good frankincense, at least as good as his, and good luck with that. Without going to the Arab Emirate of Oman, you're not going to find a better frankincense than what he puts on his sticks, and they burn beautifully, and you don't have to worry about charcoal. So Nandi Flora, really big, really powerful, very, very bittersweet, very powerful, sharp, slightly aggressive, well spiced. I see.
It's very potent.
Very powerful.
10 feet back, and I can smell it back here.
I'm distracted. I have a sign with Angus Young wearing devil horns, telling me, okay, here. That's what I'm seeing. This is Angus Young, even when he isn't saying anything. Never give Angus Young the microphone. It's so distracting. See, And anyway, like us on Facebook. Check us out there. We always have our upcoming events and all that. Call us if you want information. 856-424-6166. 856 is South Jersey, in case you were wondering. Famed Cherry Hill, New Jersey, home of the not White Castle. We don't have one.
Or a mountain.
Or a mountain. Yeah, if you can find that mountain, you'll find the White Castle right underneath it. So come in and see the store. Our address is 1880 Route 70 East. Zip is 08003. And we didn't get halfway through what we wanted to, but that's okay. I was going to show Black Amber and Barath and all these fun things.
Next.
I know. I talk too much.
Next Incense Lecture, you can do them on the 12th of June.
12th of June, please. If all of our equipment works, then you'll see us on the 12th of June. If you can be here, obviously it's much, much better for all of us, because then you can try these fragrances. I don't have to talk to these guys all the time. It's nice to have. I deserve that. It's okay. You can abuse family. It's what they're for. So yeah, if you can come in, please do. They're at 5:30. We didn't mention that. We mentioned when we
5:30
started at 5:30 Eastern
Daylight Savings Time.
until that changes. I can't keep it straight. So anyway, please come in, see us, or like us on Facebook. If you want to sample any of these things, if you're curious, self-addressed stamped envelope, we'll fire a sample out to you. This way, if one of the descriptions sounded, wow, I really need to see what that's like. See what that's like. I want to see what that smell is like. I know, I'm getting punchy. Blood sugar's dropping, right?
See it in June.
Oh, she's getting ready. I get the hook. I'm getting the hook.
You getting the
Fire. Yeah.
Oh, don't forget, if you're in the South Jersey, Philadelphia area, next Saturday, May 17th, is our Maypole. So come out, sing and dance. Real band will be playing.
And we have our tarot reader tomorrow on Sunday. Come join us, and happy Mother's Day.
For all you mothers.
Ta-ta for now.